at the end of 2023, the internet was set ablaze or at least lightly singed with rumors that the Isus Zenfone 11 was worm food. According to those web whisperings, Isus had scrapped the Zenfone range entirely, so any new flagship FS were about as likely as James Corden winning any award ever, other than, of course, the Andrew Tate Medal for Chief Meander. But thankfully this online gossip turned out to be total trouser. Not only has Isus itself confirmed the Zenfone 11's existence, but we've also seen some online leaker shenanigans recently showing off this miniature hero in all of its diminutive glory. So what is the deal with that Isus Zenfone 11, and will it be a formidable opponent to Samsung's Galaxy S24, which recently had a special spot in your uncle's spurt pants? Let's do a wee jingle and find out. Tethered Weekly now in a recent spot of top draw Asus Zenfone 11 leaks online. Sleuth and 9 to 5 Google spied what appears to be an actual photo of the Zenfone 11 in the Google Play console, as well as what could be some of those fresh new specs, and this here seemingly innocuous page heralds potentially slightly bad news if it's not all just a massive barrel of dangly bits. Of course, you see, just like last year, Zenfone 10, it appears that the Zenfone 11 will once again come packing a full HD display, but according to that way spec sheet, the pixels per inch count is listed as 420p pi. So bloody what you bold minger and get, I hear you cry. Well, that's the same resolution as the Zenfone 10 but a smaller pixels per inch count, which means the screen size may have grown, and using my immense math brain / an online screen resolution calculator, if these figures are accurate, it means that the Zenfone 11 actually sports a 6.2 in display, big step up from the 5.9 in of last year. In fact, it's basically the same size now as Samsung's Galaxy S24 flagship, which coincidentally I just reviewed right here on TechSpert, and a jolly good video that one is too, so why not give it a thoroughly bloody good watch right after you finish this one, eh? Hey, see if it's not all total cods well up. Then it appears that that's basically it. We're not going to get any smartphones that are actually under 6 in 2024. The age of the truly mini mobile is over. Bugger well, thankfully the S23 is fairly comfortable to use one-handed, a lot less awkward than fumbling around with an almighty 7-inner. Only I had your mom's dexterity. Another design change is that selfie orifice, which is now apparently drifted towards the middle, whereas previously, it was wedged away in a corner like an unruly child. I'm not a fan of that either, but then I'm just a proper miserable, aren't I? The other specs on SH aren't too surprising. You can expect the used Zenfone 11 to be powered by Qualcomm's fresh new Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, nice and beefy, and backed by 16GB of that lovely RAM stuff. The Gen 3 is slightly more powerful than Samsung's Exynos 2400, which powers the S24, while 16GB is double the RAM you get packed into that Galaxy Jobby. Plus, in my testing, I did find that smartphones powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 rather than the Exynos do enjoy longer battery life, especially when you're indulging in more intensive tasks like shooting video or wondering aimlessly about engine impact. And also, Samsung only found room for a dinky 4,000 mAh capacity battery inside of the Galaxy S24. The Zenfone 11 should comfortably have that beat, given that last year's Zenfone 10 somehow crammed in a 4,300 mAh battery, despite being under 6, and so all signs so far points to a more powerful, longer-lasting compact smartphone compared with the Galaxy S24. Very little is known so far about the camera hardware slapped onto the Zenfone 11, but it'll have to be pretty good to beat the Galaxy S24 trio of capable shooters, and likewise we don't know if Isus has downed a pint of that same AI punch that Samsung has been quaffing recently. Will we see a lot of AI-type features bunged onto the Zenfone 11 to help you shoot and edit better-looking photos, or get a better gaming experience? Who knows, but you can at least expect a lovely stock Android experience, the same as previous Zenphones, which means no mother-loving Big Biasa. So certainly, all things considered, the Isus Zenfone 11 should be hot competition for the Galaxy S24, which I really enjoyed using as my full-time smartphone recently. But no spoilers, go check out that review. But what do you reckon? Are you tempted to wait for that Zenfone, which hopefully should be launching around sort of March, April time this year, or are you already pulling on your Samsung pants and cheering for the S24? Well, pretty pleased with a big hot dollop of fudge on top. Let us know down in the comments below, and who knows, perhaps your insightful commentary will be read aloud next week to a small online audience, most of whom are drunk, confused, angry, or a mixture of all three. And speaking Of which now it's time for the part of the show that involves more people complaining about bad language than an entire series of points of view, a reference that roughly 12 people will get, but it all to its viewer comments. Alright, so let's start this week with Jesse Boy Urid. He says, I realized I could just do the video and simply watch the cat in the background take care of itself, just as fun honestly. Instead of actually reviewing PHS, I really should just shoot a video of them sat there on the desk, while my cat sits next to them, and gives himself a thorough tongue-in, or maybe just start an entirely different channel altogether. Cat Spurt, actually that sounds all kind of wrong, just forget I said that. Al Duke says, hey Uncle Spurt, why don't you move to Spain? 27 degrees yesterday, and booze is cheap, I just rub it in. Why don't you? Yeah, believe me, I would absolutely love to bugger off to Spain and spend my days quaffing a stray damn and hoing tapas down my throat, get some photo samples that aren't just perpetually gravy. Anime says, not going to lie, Mystic Meg was quite a looker. I mean, I remember vaguely been slightly terrified of her, but also probably a wee bit turned on because I was mid-teens, and therefore absolutely horny about anything with a pulse. In fact, back then even a slight breeze would get me going. But yeah, and an actual full-on love-making session, I reckon Mystic Meg would absolutely destroy me. It'd be nothing left but dust, which probably actually describes Mystic Meg these days. But anyway, moving on. Jason McMahon says QVC UK was selling the Samsung Galaxy S22 last night for 469 quid. When I saw it, I laughed so much I nearly turned emo my pants. Gotta admit, I'm actually more surprised the QVC is even actually still a thing. Still flea and pensioners with their overpriced tat. Great times. If QVC is still going, does that mean that the likes of Babe Station are still going as well? Used to love watching that back in the day when I'd stagger home from the pub like 2 a.m. You'd switch on the TV, and there was some disinterested looking woman spread out on a couch filing her KNS and stifling her yawn, while occasionally getting randy texts from middle-aged men asking her to rub rice pudding into her tits, while doing a Mr. Blobby impression. Actually, away, I guess that was kind of a precursor to all this weird TikTok live. Anyway, was slipped and down some real rabbit holes tonight. Only 2 comments in and already we're banging on about Babe Station and shagging Mystic Meg. Let's get ourselves back on track. And Goody 123 says, I like your wallpaper, please. Where can I get this kind of wallpaper? Wall. alfaxcod.com. Wall. alphacodersdo.com, that's where my wallpapers come from. Wall. alphacoders. Do.com. DP Chris says, mate, I miss the SD meter in your reviews. You know what, that's a really good point. I don't know why I ever sort of stopped doing that. I definitely look to bring that back again, because there's no review SL video on earth that can't be improved with a bit of STM action. Awad says, more profanity please. We're British. Has Mr. Wongo considered running for PM? I mean, give it a few more months, it'll be pretty much the only one in the country who hasn't had a go at it. It's kind of scary. We've gone through more prime ministers in the last few years than Sunderland's gone through managers. That really is seeing a lot. The Pigman says, how much does Mr. Wongo pay you to be his sidekick? No, it's more just the prestige of being seen with me. Give this slap head a little bit of credibility. Now, the subject of last week's show was of course Honor Bendy Wonder the Magic V2, which I should actually just go get here. We are so most of the remarks on this Bendy bugger seem to be about the price of it. LB2355 says the Magic V2 is stupid expensive in Europe. That's twice the price in China after 6 months. Bill says that's an expensive spaffing. Stir says pound 1,700 for a phone. I mean, I can't really argue. I mean, it's just the price of big bendy foldable phones in general. I mean, that's the one drawback of the OnePlus Open. I love that thing, but it's basically the same freaking price tag. If you fancy one, you can consider your wallet well and truly rinsed. Shiny Senpai actually has one. He says, I really love using mine. The battery life is amazing, and it's so light. Lots to look forward to with Honor from here. Just wish the screen was a bit brighter. Outdoors, the camera is absolutely more than fine for 90% of people. Yeah, as far as the screen shenanigans go, I really hope we see a lot more of the Gorilla Glass armor that we saw on the S24 Ultra starting to come to other flagships, cause seriously, the amount that cut down on reflections means you don't even have to worry about the screen brightness so much. A Jalop says, dunk it in water and do a water test. Well, no, I'm not going to do that because it's not certified water resistant. And if I break it, then I out on a 1,700 pounds. Do you know how much bloody whiskey I can buy with 1,700 pound PS? Blackwell says, UND debatably a video. I am watching strong work thesis, I like you a user, and then a whole bunch of letters and numbers says why measure phones from corner to corner diagonally, and not top to bottom, I guess because different screens have different aspect ratios is the incredibly boring answer to that question. Bry6314 says any idea what's happened to Realme, they seem to have run away. I'll tell you what I've heard absolutely bugger all from Realme for several months now, I'm really hoping they haven't done an OP all and just soldered right off out of the country. It's not looking too good on that front though. Bonus Baby says Uncle Spurt read my comment, there you go, that was easy, less complicated tech questions and more easily fulfill stuff like that. Please Sync 121 says, don't you have to edit out swear words now? I certainly try and bleep out the worst offenders, the N, the N, the SH. But if I try and cut out every single wanker knob, and I'd be editing for days there'd be so much bleeping you'd think a Coralon was going off outside RS site or rare site. Says you were reading Dr. Stone. I've read a few chapters now, and frankly, it's absolutely bat bonkers, so I'm not sure if I'm going to continue, but I am smashing my way through all the hell buoys at the moment, which I'm very much enjoying. Fishing Steve says, OMG, I love to see your handsome beards and beautiful scalp in 2160p, yeah, it's what those ultra high resolutions were made for. I certainly wouldn't call it a handsome beard. I probably wouldn't even call it a beard, to be honest. It's more just a couple of days of I really can't be asked to shave. I'm just going to assume that entire comment was absolutely dripping with sarcasm, and then move swiftly on. Stuart Meek says, I assume due to your blood alcohol level that vodka is a suitable replacement for whiskey. Got to admit, I've never really been a fan of vodka at all, but then I've only really ever had the proper supermarket stuff, or the stuff that they wouldn't even put on a supermarket shelf from some of the dingiest Sunderland bars and clubs, and even then it's always been shoved inside of some horrific drink like a TVR tequila Volca Red Bull. That was my Sunderland favorite. See, yeah, perhaps I just haven't had the good stuff yet. I'm pretty sure that's the case. I certainly couldn't drink it neat, but if anyone's got any recommendations for vodka, which is very quaffable, then I'm willing to give it a go. Next up, See Cow There says, please start a Socks of Love charity for your subbies and us Uncle SPT. There you go, Occult Wars for all of the Spurtin out there. Bun your soggy spaff socks into a box and send them over to Australia. Help our Aussie gems and very low on time this week. Thanks mostly to the Galaxy S24 shenanigans that's been going on, so better make this the final comment. Satan Blue says, forget the Australian spiders. You should be worried about the drop bears. I mean, I know, oh, you got some pretty wild stuff going on. But is that a literal name? Like, are we talking about a bear that drops out of a tree onto your head and bites your face off? Really? I'm running out of time, but I've absolutely got to Google the out of this one. Drop bear Australia. Well, according to War Great Mate Wikipedia, the drop bear is a hoax in contemporary Australian folklore featuring a predatory carnivorous version of the koala. This imaginary animal is commonly spoken about in tall hills designed to scare tourists. I love this advice. For avoiding drop bear attacks include spreading vomit behind your ears or in your armpits, urinating on oneself, or only speaking English in an Australian accent, thus heavily insinuating, of course, the drop bears on massive racists. So thanks for that, and to everyone else who commented last week, apologies if it didn't quite get to yours. Please do bang your thoughts down below. We'll try and smash your way through as many of those as possible next weekend. Speaking of next week. Next week, what the is next week? Well, next week on February the 5th, whichever freaking day that is, Tuesday or something, the OnePlus 12R reviews Ingo lift, so potentially stay tuned for a bit of content on that. I'm also busy reviewing this bad boy. Ryan Amin is stuffed inside the Galaxy S24 Plus, so hopefully have my full in-depth review of that for you next week. And a whole barrel full of other tech-related bollocks. In the meantime, have a bloody cracking weekend. Please do subscribe, ding that notifications bell. Love you. Thank you. Bye.